Good evening. Welcome to the Village of Manteno Board Meeting of January 21st, 2025. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask that everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boyce? Boudreau?
Here.
Dole?
Here.
Crockett? Geske?
Here.
Phillips?
Here.
With the absence of the mayor, may I please have a motion to appoint a mayor pro tem?
I make the motion.
What's the motion?
Joe Geske.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Phillips?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Boudreau?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Trustee Dex, meeting's yours.
Okay, the first item is everyone in their packet has the minutes from the previous meeting from January 6, 2025. Are there any changes, corrections, deletions that need to be made? If not, I'd accept a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Motion by Boudreau, second by Dole. Roll call.
Boudreau?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Okay, next item is public participation. First person signed up is George Reichert.
So we have two parties running in this town. We have the Manteno Freedom Party, and we have the Manteno Choice Party. I'm in favor of the Freedom Party because they're going to give me the freedom to make decisions. I feel the Choice Party hasn't asked me anything yet. If I don't like it, too bad. And that's why I'm back in the Freedom Party. And that's Mr. Geske. I don't know how the rest of his trustees running are going to be down the road, but also I notice there's a lot of signs in town already. I feel like them signs are being shoved down my throat the same way you run the village, shoved down my throat. So I see whose property they're in, so I know how they feel about the Goshen plant over there. They're in favor of the Goshen plant if they got them on their private property. So, and I see your war chest, $20,000 for a local election. And it's not like it's 100 people, 200 people giving the money. It's a handful of people giving the money. So, I don't know. I'm just not in favor of the Choice Party because so far up till now, you haven't told me anything about Goshen over there, and you guys don't answer any questions or anything. So how you come across and say it's Manteno Choice Party? It's not Manteno Choice Party. It's your party. It's not my party. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Bobby Forsythe.
You know, that money that's been coming in, it's kind of odd that you would have donors from Washington, D.C., Kurt's Funeral Home out of New Lenox for a mayoral thing in Manteno, and you got Nugent Construction, Tenco Construction, Tim Nugent, Susie LaRock, Francis Smith, Smith Development, Jim, you also. I mean, now, I get why Tenco and Nugent wants to do it. I mean, tonight we have you're going to bid on this almost $1 million project at Legacy Park. You know what? Legacy Park started out as a nightmare when it first put in, when Speedy Gonzalez won the bid. And the township wanted to back out of that because of the fact is exactly what was going, they knew what was going on. The lawyer over there said, we're going to have to rebid it. Not going to just take the next bid and give it to Tenco or Nugent, whichever, I think it was Nugent got it. But it's just really sad to see the People's Choice Party, because there is no choice. And CJ, I'm really disappointed in you being a high school teacher. And I would hope that you'd have your students challenge you on decisions, on comments. And you have failed to ask these guys anything, or even challenge Tim Nugent on anything. This $1 million for this, it is going to be the expansion in the pier, right? Why do we need to spend $1 million to put a fishing pier in? And enlarge that? That's been dry, that thing has lost water. Now, after that, are we going to have to put a lifeguard down there too? Is that going to have to be on the budget? Put a lifeguard in at the pier so nobody drowns? You know the liability you open yourself up to? There's a lot of places people can go fishing. You might see 12, 15 people down there. And it's the same people. There's a lot of money to spend for a few people to go fishing. There's a lot of other things in Manteno that could use $1 million. Have you parked over by the high school field? In the back by the girls' softball? You see that road? I walk that almost every day. That thing's all full of ruts and stuff. I mean, $1 million could go there. I just don't understand. I mean, you might have some really nice people in that party, but Joel, you failed us completely by not answering questions. I mean, why didn't you guys have them fill out the long form? Why was there no environmental impact study done? Still not done. And then you put Chris in charge here to sign off on all the chemical stuff. He's not.
It's your time, Bob.
You see his job resume?
Thank you. Next commenter is Francine Fatima.
Good evening. A new day arrived in America yesterday, January 20th, 2025. The 4-year doom and gloom that has hung over our country and our village is gone. The golden age is upon us, and the president will do all in his power to lead our country in accordance with the Constitution. Would that our local government would care so much. Hopefully, now, foreign agents such as Goshen will be rooted out, and that includes the Goshen hierarchy, which is Chinese communists in charge. Make no mistake, that is a fact. They are a real threat. There is espionage in these people. We deserve better. Well, better is coming, April 1st, and it better come quick, with Annette Lamore and the Freedom Party. We look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, Paul Motel.
All right, good evening, everyone. As many of you know, I am running for trustee with Annette Lamore on the Manteno Freedom Party ticket. Just wanted to take a moment this evening to talk about what I witnessed this past weekend. I've seen it a little bit beforehand, but this past weekend has just been really bad. A lot of people, supporters of both groups, are just speaking in an ill-mannered way, nasty, they're just downright nasty to each other and in the social media groups of our community. We don't need to act like that. Everyone has the right to express their opinion. It sets a poor example for new residents. It's going to be counterproductive and attracting more new residents. We are adults. We should act accordingly. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have opposing views. That doesn't mean we run home to type on our phones or our keyboards to just be nasty towards each other. We can be civil. Moving forward, I'd like to see that. There's no place for it. It's just counterproductive, and it doesn't accomplish a thing. So everyone, please, it's unacceptable and unnecessary. Please remain civil towards each other, because we're all members of this community. These are your neighbors. You may be speaking to people who mentor your children like that, and it's not going to accomplish anything. So let's please do better. Thank you.
Paul, that's one thing that you and I could absolutely agree upon.
Thank you, Joe.
I
appreciate that.
100% support it from the very start, and that has been my position all along. Thank you. Next person is Sandy Chiz.
Well, now I have to tone down what I was going to say. So here we are again. I'm sure that our talking to you sometimes sounds like the way my dogs hear me when I talk to them. They hear their name, and then they hear blah, blah, blah. That's the saddest part. You never listened to us. If you'd held a referendum and given everyone a chance to vote about Goshen, this wouldn't have had to happen. It wouldn't have had to get so contentious. It might have even passed. Then we wouldn't have had anything to fight about and argue about. But this was snuck in, and it's been shoved down our throats ever since. Even sadder now is how it's ruined so many of your reputations and caused so much dissension in our town. So much respect for this village board has been lost, legacies destroyed. But then some of you have helped your family and friends. I read that there was a property sale to Goshen where the mayor's family was involved, but that he didn't receive any benefit. But I have to say that insider information certainly helped, didn't it? Why, we've been sold out again and again, and it's not right.
Thank you. That concludes our public participation. We'll move on to committee reports. The first committee report is Public Works. Trustee Boyce is not here, so CJ, would you take the items that he has, please, on the agenda?
Yep. So for Public Works, there's no old business, two new business. The first is a consideration motion to award a bid to Tenneco Excavation, Bourbon, Illinois, for Legacy Park Phase 2 for a cost of $984,101.05. We received 4 bids, and that was the lowest bid by about $20,000, and it is lower than our engineer's estimate by about $250,000. The second consideration is a motion to award a contract to National Power Rotting Corporation, Chicago, Illinois, for the 2025 storm sewer, television, and cleaning project at a cost of $20,300. Jim, would you like to talk a little bit more on why we're doing that?
Yeah, we come to find out there is some storm line that has some failed spots. Over on Willow is where we found it, on the west side of Willow, between Holtz and Leahy. We were aware that it is a clay pipe, and looks like there's a couple spots to, at least so we can get the sewer cleaned and then cambered so we know how many bad spots there are. There's a couple other spots that we might add to this list. We have a linear foot pricing per the size of the pipe. So there's a few other spots we might add to this list just to make sure that once we have them out there, we can address a couple other spots. But the goal is to find out how many damaged areas, and then if we can get those areas fixed, and possibly slip line the entire thing to make sure that the storm structures are working.
Thank you so much. And the next Public Works meeting is next Tuesday at 7 a.m. in the Village Boardroom.
Okay. Few comments here. Chris, can you go over how many bids we had, who bid for this project out of Phase 2?
Yeah, so the bidding process is actually handled by our village engineer, Bruce Hill. He puts the design together, puts the information out on various different mediums to get it out there to as many contractors as possible. This kind of works in our favor with using HR Green because they're up north and they have a lot more ability to get this out to contractors that maybe have never considered Manteno before. So we appreciate that. We had 4 bidders, Tenco Excavating, Schwartz Excavating, R&R, Reuben Smith Construction, and KVCC. The process is that they have to bring in a sealed bid. So they typically, most of them will come to the bid meeting. Present there is myself, Jim Hanley, the village clerk, Darla Hurley, and then Bruce Hill. He's the one that opens those envelopes. I've never seen it since I've been here, but if we did get an envelope that was not sealed, it would not be considered a viable bid, so that would be removed from the process. Bruce opens the envelopes, then he reads those numbers, and then he takes those bids with him to go through them to make sure that it not only is the lowest bid, it's the lowest qualified bid. And that just means that everything that's supposed to be included is included, and that they haven't missed anything, that if there's alternates or adjustments that have been made during the process, we need to make sure that those are all included. He takes care of that process, and then he presents us with a letter stating his recommendation for who should receive the work.
Okay, so this bid, because we're addressing some issues that I don't think there's an elephant in the room here, but nepotism gets brought up quite a bit. Were there any of the contractors present the day that these bids were opened?
All 4 of the contractors were present, and that's pretty typical for the local guys, KVCC, Tenco, R&R, all of those guys always show up pretty much to every bid opening because, again, they some of the things that they do when they come to these meetings is to see where the other contractors are at so that maybe they make adjustments for future projects. So they want to see who bid it, they want to see how much that is, and they like to get that information early. So.
And the day of the opening of these bids, every envelope was sealed?
Always. There's, again, anything that would come in unsealed would not be a qualified bid. It would be rejected.
And Tenco was the lowest by $20-some thousand, correct?
Correct.
Now, I'll ask our village attorney, is there anything improper of this procedure? No. Everything? It's customary. Okay. So, and this thing, that the construction that we did, was this part of the original plan that was derived several years ago for Legacy Park?
Yeah, I think the expansion of the pond, that was on the original design. If you look over here on the map, that was there all along. We did add a fishing pier. It was brought up by one of our former board members who thought it would be a nice idea. There are people who fish over there. The original bid, when it went out, we kind of realized after that happened that we probably needed some lighting, some additional things on that pier to make sure that it was safe. So we put it back out for a rebid and added some lighting, some path connections to the parking lot. Sadly, people who fish there a lot of times will park on the 10,000 road, and that's just, we're trying to get away from that. We expanded the parking lot. We put in a path so that people can walk from the parking lot to the pond, hopefully to make it safer so that guys that want to fish there or people that want to fish there will use the parking lot and walk to the pond. I think the fishing pier, again, was one of our former board members' idea. Everybody kind of liked that, thought it would be a nice thing. There's a pond up on St. Francis Road in New Lenox. He kind of got the idea from that, and it's very popular up there. My grandkids live near that pond, and it gets used quite a bit. So that was the process. Again, it's on the original design. The township has also been in contact with us. We obviously, since they own half of that park, we run everything by them. They agree to pay their portion of it, which is 50%. And anything that they don't agree with, like when we put up the ice rink, that was our idea. They didn't feel like they wanted to contribute to that, so we paid the entirety of that, and that's how it works at Legacy Park. But I think the ice rink is the only thing that they've not been on board with.
So with this, call it $1 million fishing hole as it was described earlier on this evening, can you tell me which board members or who are the board members that were on the village board at the time that this plan came to be?
So the master plan, I believe, was Noel Burke, Annette Lamore, Tim Boyce. I think Diane was on the board at that time. Robin Batka was a board member at that time. So that was pretty much the group that decided to do this. And again, they reached out to the township, kind of the first time that had happened in the area, where two governing bodies got together and realized that it was a great project for the area. Township was on board, I think, fairly quick and decided that, they wanted to participate. So it was a mutual thing that they really felt would benefit the area. And I have to say, it's an impressive park, and I think they've done a wonderful job continuing to improve it, as the original design was intended.
I couldn't agree more. I think that moving forward on this action tonight is just putting into place plans that have been made by the current board and former members of the board. I guess...
One other thing I want to point out is that the residents need to understand and remember that we don't have a park district. Most of the other towns in our area have park districts. So everything that we do in the parks comes out of our general fund. So when we help out the Wildcats program, when we help out the baseball program, that all comes out of right out of our general fund. And those are obviously funds that we could use for other things. But this board and this administration, obviously for a long time, even with former board members, have decided that the parks are an important part of our community. And we have a lot of parks for a small town. And we've done, I think, an amazing job improving them and maintaining them. And kudos to Jim and his staff. Again, we don't have an outside company that does all that. That's done by Public Works. So they do a lot of mowing, they do a lot of taking care of the equipment, and I just hope the public realizes that the village spends a pretty fair amount of their money to maintain the parks for the community.
While rebating 100% of the
in the last 3 years
tax.
and giving all the money back, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next is properties and recreation. CJ, this is you again.
Yes, speaking of parks, I have no new business, at least for this agenda, but we are having a properties recreation meeting also next Tuesday, the 28th at 7 a.m. We will be doing some park updates, talking about some of the parks we have. MYSA will be there, giving us some updates, and we're going to start thinking and looking at a possible agreement or partnership of some kind with the RV SRA. Thank you.
Thank you. Public safety and health, Trustee Dole.
Thank you. I think Jeff Jarvis was on the board at that time, too. Seems like you.
Sorry, it was a couple-year process, so there were some board
Yeah.
members that came and went, but yeah, it started actually in 2008, and I think they built it in 2010, so just like any big projects in the village, it's not something that happens overnight. It takes
Right.
time, and money has to be appropriated, and so it's a process.
And that's why we call it in phases, different phases.
For sure.
Or whatever, so. Yeah. I don't have any action items on the agenda tonight. My next public safety meeting is February 12th at 7 a.m. here at the Village Board Room. Talking about my safety tip, today's extreme cold snap could remind us of how dangerous cold weather can be if you lose power or your furnace fails for any reason. The average house loses several degrees every hour without heat. Just as a reminder, if you ever lose power or heat for an extended period of time, you can contact the Manteno Police Department at any time to use the community center as a warming shelter. Just call our non-emergency number, which is 815-929-4801, and request that an officer open it up for you. The Leo Hassett Center is located right here at 211 North Main Street. And once again, please check on the elderly, friends, and family, and make sure they are safe with the heat and their food and water and everything. And also, I'd like to, we mentioned last meeting that about
cleaning the sidewalks and shoveling the sidewalks for people to walk on. I was glad to see several places where they did, and it made a difference for the kids walking back and forth to their school bus and people walking their pets. I thought that made things really good, and people went out there in the cold and shoveled and took it upon themselves to clean the sidewalks. So thank you to all who did that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, Trustee Crockett?
Thank you, Trustee Geske. I have nothing on the agenda this evening. We do have a Planning and Zoning Committee meeting scheduled for the 28th of this month at 7 a.m. here in the Village Boardroom. And the Planning Commission meeting that was scheduled for February 11th here in the Village Boardroom has been canceled. So that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Next is finance, which is myself. I have payment of bills in the amount of $109,668.92, which does not include any TIF bills. There have been no bills authorized and paid between board cycle. Our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for February 12th at 7 a.m. right here at the Village Board Conference Room. General Government, Trustee Phillips.
I have nothing on the agenda.
Okay. All right. I would accept a motion to approve by omnibus, or for a omnibus vote for the following items. The items shall be a motion to award the bid to Tenco Excavating of Bourbonnais, Illinois for Legacy Park Phase 2 for a cost of $984,111.05. A motion to award a contract to National Power Rotting Corporation from Chicago, Illinois for the 2025 storm sewer televising and cleaning project at a cost of $20,300, and payment of bills in the amount of $109,668.92. Are there any items that we need to vote on separately? See no objections, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Crockett,
I'll second.
second by Boudreau. Roll call.
Crockett,
Yes.
Boudreau,
Yes.
Dole,
Yes.
Geske,
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the omnibus vote.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Boudreau,
I'll second.
second by Dole. Roll call.
Boudreau,
Yes.
Dole,
Yes.
Crockett,
Yes.
Geske,
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Okay. Comments, Trustee Boudreau.
Speaking of the cold, we did have e-learn today here from Manteno, thankfully, but I do want to give a shout out to the post office workers. They walked by when my dog was watching. It is freezing outside, so thank you for your service for delivering my mail, and stay warm, please. That's all I have tonight.
Trustee Dole.
Yeah, just a reminder, just to check on people that, that live by themselves, and I'm okay, I live by myself, but, just check on people and make sure they're all right, because this cold is just terrible. So,
Yes, it is.
thanks.
Trustee Crockett.
Yes, I just want to piggyback a little bit on the whole park discussion. So I think this is my 14th or 15th year being on the village board. It's been an honor to do such. And prior to Goshen coming to town, in those 14 or 15 years, I can say I could probably count on one hand the number of people that would come to our committee meetings or our village board meetings. And I don't know if that's because we were doing such an excellent job, nobody felt that they needed to come to voice their opinion, but I guess if something good came out of Goshen, it was that more people got involved and more people are here at the meetings and voicing their opinions and letting us know what you like and what you don't like. And like Mr. Motel said, maybe we'll agree and maybe a lot of times we won't agree. But a lot of these amenities and parks and Second Street and Main Street improvements and all the great things that we've done in the 14, 15 years that I've been here, and the administrations prior to that and the boards prior to that, I think have all been great improvements for our village. And, I do, just based on my job, I get to see what's going on in a lot of other towns and come back with ideas, and I've come up with ideas that the board has liked and approved, and they have, maybe not liked some other ideas, and that's perfectly fine. But as a group, we're always trying to do something better. And I think, coming up with these ideas and looking at new ideas and ways to improve our parks and our community is a plus for all of us. We all benefit from that. And it's something that, when I go and see some of these other towns, I'm very proud of, the town that I live in and the things that we've done. So there's nobody on this board that isn't looking in the best interests of our community. Believe it or not, I think everybody that I've ever been associated with here in this village boardroom, committee meetings, have always put the best interest of this village ahead of anything else. And I'm proud to be a part of this group. And there's nobody that I have seen done anything underhanded, in the dark of night, detrimental to this village. So when it's all said and done and I'm out of here, I could walk away and I can say I was very proud to be a part of what all of these people have done. And, we see each other at the grocery store, we see each other at church. We are neighbors, we are, members of this community, and I think in one way or another, we're all trying to make it a better community. So that's my 2 cents for this evening.
Well said, well said.
I think
Trustee
you deserve a
Phillips?
handshake.
We've been at it 14 years, we're doing all we could.
And we've done some really good things.
Okay. A couple of closing comments, and some of these comments should have been earlier on. I apologize. Earlier this evening, the Manteno High School Chamber Choir was supposed to sing the national anthem. Unfortunately, due to the weather, seems like we keep bumping them, but hopefully the next one they'll be able to be here and we'll get an opportunity to see exactly what they did at the Bears game. So looking forward to that. Also this evening, former Public Works employee Dan Johnson was supposed to come here and get acknowledged. He had retired, and we were going to present him with an award. Unfortunately, he fell ill and could not make it this evening, so hopefully we'll get to see him at the next one. Real quick, Jim, ice rink, it's, I guess, a perfect time for ice skating, the ice rink up and running, and everything working appropriately, the Zamboni, everything that...
We lost a little bit of ice, I think on Saturday it warmed up just enough, but Sunday we reflooded the rink and got plenty cold, so we've had the Zamboni on it the last 2 days in a row, and Chris was out there yesterday skating, and I got the A-OK, so I think we're doing okay on it, but yeah, there's been plenty of use. Looks like the temperatures are going to be probably good through Saturday. Looks like it's going to be hitting 30, 32, and if it's sunny, we're probably going to lose ice Saturday. And it looks like the next 2 weeks above freezing, maybe a 30 degree or 32 degree day. We're not going to probably have ice probably for another week and a half after that, so.
Okay.
Then we'll go straight into summer from there, right?
Just like CJ thanked the postal workers, I'm going to thank our Public Works guys for going out and doing that. I mean, here's another extreme temperature, and instead of doing it for anything other than our recreational activities to go out and skate, thank the guys that work with you for going out and doing it and keeping it up. If there's anything we could do to help you, please let us know. There was a comment made earlier in public comments that Goshen was shoved down their throat and there should have been a referendum. I guess my response to that is there were public hearings. There were public hearings held by this board, the Plan Commission, the school board, the library board, the fire department board. This didn't happen in the middle of the night as people are trying to proclaim that it happened and it was all secretive and hush-hush. It was all publicly posted with proper notices. So passing a referendum, every decision that has to be made in the village, we cannot put up for referendum. You can't wait for the next election to have something like that take place. So the people that were elected to make the decisions gathered the information and made the decision to the best of their ability with the best intent for the village. not for personal gain. And obviously, every person sitting on this board has taken their fair share of lumps and bruises for making the decision, but we can agree to disagree and move forward. So that's my comment in regards to that. Then during public hearing, or public participation, there's some comments about one party over the other party. We will not make comments regarding that because that's election interference. You have the privilege of making those comments as public participants, and you can speak your mind. We will not comment on them. We will not make public comments about them because we're not going to interfere with the election. We'll let our actions decide our fate and move forward with our best foot forward. So, no other comments. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by
second that.
Crockett, second by Phillips. Roll call, please.
Crockett,
Yes.
Phillips, Woodrow,
Yep.
Dole,
Yes.
and Geske.
Yes. Thank you for coming.